What's up, guys? Today I wanted to talk about the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra and why I think this might be one of the best flagships you can still buy. Even though the new S22 Ultra is out, the price keeps coming down on this phone, and Samsung did one thing that makes this phone like just extra good now. So if we actually go check the price of this device here, it's coming steadily down to 600 bucks. So when I bought it, it was close to around maybe almost close to $800, right? And I'm talking about renewed, refurbished. Then the S22 Ultra came out. The S22 Ultra is a $1,200 phone. So to get last year's flagship and arguably one of the best flagships of last year, right? And I believe pretty much still one of the best flagships still this year. So there's a case to be made that now that the price has come down, is this still one of the best phones that you can get right now for the money, as far as getting a newer phone with all the top tier specs and stuff like that? Because if you really check out that comparison with the S22 Ultra versus the S21 Ultra, there's really not a lot that is different. But yeah, so it's just really interesting. So let's go ahead and just dive into this whole idea here. So the S21 Ultra, one of the best designs, I would say, of last year. A lot of people actually prefer this design over the S21 Ultra. As you can see with the new one, they got rid of the camera bump. I like the camera bump, and I also like the new S22 Ultra's design. One of the things that I immediately noticed when I picked this phone up again is that the weight is uneven. And after using the S22 Ultra for such a long time, you kind of notice that. So down here, like, it's kind of like unbalanced a little bit. Now you notice you will get used to it once you start using the phone a little bit more here, but I noticed that like with this camera bump. So maybe that's why Samsung got rid of it, just to get rid of that kind of like awkward weight feeling that it has. But that feeling does go away the more you use it. You don't really notice it. Now, this phone is still a very beautiful phone. It's a glass and metal phone here. We got matte finish on here, and it's a really nice looking device still. Also, another thing about the design, which is kind of sad that this design will never come back because they went with the Note design, but it's got a more curved edge as opposed to the Note body style. As you can see, this feels way less comfortable to hold than this. Like, the S series lineup has always been more comfortable than the Note series lineup because it doesn't have that boxy shape in the hand. So that's one thing that I noticed. These phones just feel way more comfortable to hold here. Now, also the screen on here is something that a lot of people will probably miss. It really depends on your design preference as well. But with the new S22 Ultra, it has that more boxy shape, and this has a more curve, and the notch is less, not the notch, but the curve is less aggressive on here. So with the newer ones, or the Note style screens, the curve is more dramatic. With the S21 Ultra, the curve is like kind of slight. I actually really like this, but I actually like the S22 Ultra screen as well too. I like this sort of dramatic curve. Like I said, it comes down to personal preference, but a lot of people prefer this screen. They say you don't get accidental touches really at all with this, the way they did it. So it really comes down to your personal preference. Now, the screen on here is still a top-notch display. It's still a dynamic AMOLED display. It's still 120 Hz HDR10+, 1500 nits peak brightness at 6.8 inches. 1440p 515 for the PPI. It's still a top-notch display when it comes to quality here. And then we have our punch hole in the middle. So the display on here is pretty much, as far as the tech, it's still the same as the S22 Ultra. Just the S22 Ultra gets slightly brighter outdoors at its max, peak brightness. But this display is still top-notch for watching content, for playing games. It's still one of the best displays that you can get on the market. So that is one thing that I really like about this phone. Now, here's also something very interesting. So this phone will get the same treatment that the S22 Ultra series will get, or the S22 series will get. The S21 series gets this as well. So you get 4 years of major OS updates, and I believe around 4 or 5 years of security patches. So when Samsung announced that gave this phone an extra, basically, year of major OS updates, and I believe more security patches. So you can use this phone so much longer now, which is pretty incredible. So just to run down the specs a little bit, so this phone is currently running the Android 12 One UI 4.1 And then we also have the Snapdragon AAA processor on here with the Adreno 660. And then you also have 128 gigs of internal storage and 12 gigs of RAM. No SD card support, unfortunately. And the thing about these 888 chips, the 888 and the 8 Gen 1 is that these phones get pretty hot when gaming. Now, I know a lot of people have a case with these phones, so they probably not noticed, but these are not comfortable phones, and that goes for any phone with a AAA processor, at least for me that I've experienced. In this new 8 Gen 1, these are just hot phones, and they really got to do something about that. And again, I'm not having performance problems where I'm getting like a ton of lag and stuff like that when I'm playing video games, but they're just not comfortable to hold if you don't use cases or you use your phone with like a skin on it. It's just not comfortable to hold for long periods of time because these things can kind of heat up. But performance wise, they really don't miss a beat. They are super fast as far as bouncing in and out of applications and multitasking. Everything is just blazing fast on here. And as far as the software experience goes, you're really not missing out on anything that you would get on the S22 Ultra. So this phone does have the Samsung desktop support, of course, secured. I can't talk today. Secured folders, Dolby Atmos, NFC. Also, what a lot of people don't know is that the S Pen actually still works with these devices. So if you buy the pen, you can see it should pop up. Yeah, you can see, boom. Like I can still take advantage of the pen. So the pen thing is not a big deal. You do have to, like I said, buy it separately, and there's nowhere to actually like stick it, of course, but it does have that pen functionality. All right, so the big thing with this phone is the crazy camera system. For, you know, almost $600 now, you're getting a top tier camera system, and it's really not that far off from the S22 Ultra image quality. I think the standard photos are basically the same as the S22 Ultra in my opinion, but when we get to the zoom shots, I think the zoom shots on the S22 Ultra are better, and you can it's noticeably better, but not dramatically better, but it is noticeably better. Yeah, so as far as image quality, this is still like a top tier camera, and it's pretty crazy that you can get this camera set up for $600. It's a 108 megapixel lens, a 10 megapixel periscope telephoto lens that does the 10x optical zoom, a 10 megapixel telephoto lens that also does 3x, and then you have a 12 megapixel ultra wide. There's a macro mode on here, 8K video at 24, and then a 40 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K 60. Alright, so basically the image quality is still pretty good, and it's been getting much better even with the software updates as well too. So as Samsung improves like the software, the camera has been getting better since it was first released. That's something that I've been noticing too. But image quality, videos, low light performance is still top notch, but you're paying well under $1,000, and it's still very much comparable to the $1,000 iPhones, you know, the $900 Pixel 6 Pro. This phone is still basically performing up there with those phones, which I think is incredible at this price point. Also, something that I think a lot of people were kind of disappointed by was that with the S22 Ultra, there was no improvement with battery life, and this phone still essentially has the same battery life as the S22 Ultra. So the battery life is pretty good on the S21 Ultra. So you're not really getting like a crazy upgrade if you were to spend that extra money. And the battery life can get you well over 6 hours with this phone, which is pretty good. So I don't have an issue with battery life. You get 25-watt charging on here. You have your wireless charging and reverse wireless charging on this phone as well too. So you guys can kind of see my argument for why I still think this is still one of the best phones that you can get. Because it just has everything and is super cheap. And you got to remember, it's only going to get cheaper as the year goes on. I can see this phone easily staying around $600. It could. I don't think it'll actually hit that under 600. Like it would be crazy to start seeing these phones for like 5 something, but it's possible. But I think like 600, it'll probably stay at that at least until the S23 Ultra is out. So it's a very good buy. Highly recommend this phone. That software update, them announcing that software update, it just makes this phone such an attractive buy now, especially for people who don't care about the stylus at all. It really makes this an attractive buy. So what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.